very warm welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us on this edition of K24 Inside Business, the last word in business. My name is Sarah Adam. Later in the hour, we'll have a discussion that will focus on tourism, keeping in mind that today is World Tourism Day. So we'll have that discussion later in the hour. But for now, let's take a look at what is making headlines in the world of business. All is set for World Tourism Day celebrations. Kenya ranked 3rd out of 66 economies. And Ministry of Water and Irrigation closes down Mwea rice mill. To our top business story of the hour, Kenya is ranked 3rd out of 66 economies showing best potential in future trade growth. A new report by multinational financial Standard Chartered shows the study considered improvements to physical and digital infrastructure, e-commerce and ease of doing business. Cote d'Ivoire comes on top, followed by India on the list of top 20 economies, which is dominated by countries in Africa and Asia. The ranking took account of a range of variables grouped into 3 pillars: economic dynamism and readiness to trade and export diversity. Kenya benefited from improving business climate generally. Some of more visible changes in Kenya have been in road and railway development, which has made it easier to move goods both within the country and to trading partners in the region. On the claim of huge cash transaction in Narok County as the central bank moves to phase out the old 1,000 shilling note, which has seen residents lend out cash which has been deposited in the area as wheat and farm lease payout. However, as the deadline approaches, the residents are now becoming more skeptical with their transaction. However, maintaining that cash transaction for them is part of life. Jimmy Mbogo was in Narok County and has these details for us.
Well, indeed, thank you very much and a very good afternoon to you too, Sarah. Yes, we are currently in Narok County where we understand that from the central bank that there has been an influx or a rather increase in cash transaction in the area, and especially coming from wheat buyers in the county. Now, we've come all the way right here to find out where this is true. However, from some of the people that we've been able to speak to, one of their biggest concern is that these allegations are actually not absolutely correct, because one of their concerns and why they prefer transacting in cash is because a lot of the farmers in this area prefer working in cash, and most of them do not actually have their bank accounts, and that's the reason why most of these buyers who come to these areas to buy wheat, and especially now, which is during the harvest season, one of the reasons why there has been an increase in this transaction is because a lot of them have to pay the farmers in cash for them to actually go ahead and be able to pay their workers.
Mwingine ukienda kununua ngano kwa shamba huko, unajua unaenda unanunua kidogo kidogo, mwingine anakunia 5, mwingine anakunia 10, mwingine anakunia 2. So most of them maybe wanaweza taka uwalipe tu kule, kwa sababu hawawezi kuja na watu wote kutoka huko kijijini kuwaleta wote town.
Concern that has been raised by some of these residents is the fact that a lot of them, and one of the key reasons why they actually prefer doing their transactions in cash is because when the wheat business started picking up in this area, most of them were lied to and they were duped, because they would be given bankers' checks, which as soon as they take to the bank to go and cash it in, these checks would actually bounce, which is one of the reasons they are very skeptical about bank transaction. And also remember, sir, that the majority of the residents in Narok County are actually the pastoral community, that being the Maasai community, and so most of them are always in the move, and another reason why they prefer moving away with hard cash.
Well, for now, I'm just trying to exchange everything, but I'm not accepting anything in old notes. 1,000 only. I'm not accepting any transaction in my businesses with the old note.
Well, so the other thing that has come out from these business people that we've been able to speak to right here in Narok County, most of them are actually saying that they are no longer taking the old 1,000 shillings note because as the deadline fast approaches, most of them are afraid that they might not even be able to get enough time to go and exchange these old 1,000 notes and get the new 1,000 notes. So to avoid that kind of collision, they're saying they're no longer taking the old 1,000 notes, be it from their customers, be it from their banks. They're actually saying, and one of the ladies that we actually spoke to was telling us that she insists whenever she goes to the bank that she has to be given the new 1,000 shillings note. Well, we will be keeping an eye on this conversation just to be able to see as the deadline fast approaches whether the central bank will actually be able to achieve its intended purpose of demonetization. But for now, back to you.
Thank you very much, Jimmy Mbogo, for that report. Now, moving on, the Ministry of Water and Irrigation has closed down Mwea Rice Mill in Kirinyaga County for 2 weeks to pave way for a special audit following reports that the company failed to adhere to procurement rules. This happens even as the region is experiencing an acute shortage of rice due to lack of sufficient water at the giant Mwea irrigation scheme. Linda Kosgei tells us more.
The National Irrigation Board has confirmed that a team of auditors will camp at the Mwea Irrigation Scheme offices for the next 2 weeks to scrutinize all the company's financial records. According to Mwea National Irrigation Scheme Manager Innocent Riemba, farmers will not be able to deliver their produce until the exercise is completed.
Hatutapeana milling services kesho. Hiyo ndio nilikuwa nasema itaenda wiki moja.
Hii ni industry. Na industry ambao iko na watu ndani. Na tukifungua tuseme kila mtu aingie huko na auditors wanazunguka huko. Itakuwa ni ngumu sasa auditors kujua what is the exact stock inside there.
In his 2015-2016 report, former Auditor General Edward Ouko flagged a 20 billion expenditure allocated to the National Irrigation Board for schemes that cannot be accounted for.
Kama Rice Mills kuna shida, auditor atatuambia na tutatatua hiyo maneno.
Tumeshauriana na viongozi wengine tukasema kesho kuanzia saa 5. Yule mtu mwenye atakuwa kuna order ya mchele anataka kupeana, atapeana. Kama kuna yule anataka kupeleka mchele mahali afanye milling atapeleka.
NIB equally failed to explain how it used 3.6 billion shillings in the Mwea irrigation scheme, Bura, Tana, Perkera, Ahera, among others. Area Member of County Assembly Gadison Mushina said the audit will assist farmers to understand how the company has been utilizing its finances. Farmers own 45% of the mill, while the government owns the remaining share. This happens even as the region is experiencing acute water shortage brought about by prolonged dry spell. Linda Koskei, K24 Business.
Now moving on, the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, ISPAC, has urged Parliament to fast-track review of the income tax policy to allow the government to broaden its tax base. ISPAC Chairman Mwea said it is imperative that Parliament prioritizes the review of tax bill so as to define income-widened tax base and modernizing the regime to global standards. Caroline Jenga tells us more.
The accountants' professional body, ISPAC, said the income tax law remains unchanged to date, despite urgency of realigning this law to the realities of times. ISPAC Chairman Mwea said with a 3 trillion shillings budget and a 1.6 trillion shillings revenue generation by the Kenya Revenue Authority, it implied that there is a significant imbalance between revenue collection and expenditure.
I personally feel very pained because I know that 30%, every time I calculate 30% of my taxes, of my earnings and go to the government, I feel really pained at the amount of money that I pay to carry.
The accountants' boss made the remarks during the 6th annual Premier Public Finance and Tax Conference in Mombasa. The agency is of the opinion that the review should include a definition of income that makes it easy for the revenue administrators and the taxpayer to determine taxable income to avoid the current scenario of billions of shillings in tax disputes. Ultimately, she said all factors need to be appropriately considered to ensure that the design facilitates an enabling environment for business while promoting economic growth, realizing the Big Four agenda and Vision 2030.
It's really a fundamental question that we have to ask ourselves as accountants. What really is our role? Can we say no, and should we say no? Yes, we should be saying no to such activities when we know it's not the right thing. But also, as a country, what mechanisms are we putting in place to support these whistleblowers?
According to the Institute Analysis report, income tax contributes approximately 40% of the total tax revenue, and the government is keen to increase its tax base by putting in place requisite tax laws in the past 5 years. To avoid financial stalemates on the division of revenue bill in future, ISPAC proposes that the county should develop a predictable and consistent revenue growth factor to determine the growth of the equitable share. Caroline Jenga for K24 Inside Business.
Now moving on, all is set for this year's World Tourism Day celebration in the country. Travel and tourism remained a key driver of the African economy in 2018, accounting for 8.1% of GDP and contributing $194.2 billion to the region's economy. A new report by African e-commerce company found it. The region's tourism industry grew at a rate of 5.6% in 2018, second only to Asian Pacific, according to Jumia's 2019 hospitality report. This compares to a global growth rate of 3.9% annually. Around 67 million tourists flocked to Africa in 2018, a record of 7% increase from 63 million arrivals in 2017 and 58 million in 2016. Today is World Tourism Day, and joining us to discuss this and more in the tourism sector is Grace Nderuti, the CEO of Ecotourism. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
It's my pleasure.
How can we grow ecotourism in the country?
Ecotourism is the bedrock of tourism in Kenya because it is the basis on which we sell tourism. If you are familiar with the industry, you will know that we sell the parks. Most of the tourists who come to Kenya go to the national parks that we have. And we have been very fortunate enough in Kenya because we have grown tourism to the extent that we have incorporated and been able to integrate the community into tourism, in the sense that they have been given the opportunity to come up with community conservancies where people are putting up their land for conservation. And we have very committed investors, both local and international, who have come in and put in their dollars into selling very high-end facilities. And so how it happens is that they come in and they guarantee income to communities, and they convince them to move away from their land, and in exchange, they guarantee them income for a long period of time, over 10 years. And this is one of the ways that Kenya has ensured that tourism and ecotourism in terms of conservation is having meaningful gain both for the community and for the country as a whole.
Okay, when we talk about the tourism sector, we've hit a mark of 2 million arrivals in the country. And just to break it down, when it comes to even cultural heritage, when we talk about ecotourism, the fact that we have these communities making bids and tourists flocking different parts of the world, just coming to invest and basically coming to Kenya to see these particular tourists. But at the end of the day, they say it's not value for their money. The same local communities that are in different parts of the country, if we can take like Turkana, they're making bids. They're saying that they're not given, when it comes to even product selling, the country is not doing much in terms of selling our tourism sector.
Well, what you are saying is right. I think the point here is, have we as a country been able to link tourism, conservation, and communities? I'll tell you that we still have a long way to go. And the reason for this is we have been able to excite the local people from the ecotourism perspective, that they can gain meaningfully from tourism. And this means that they have been able to appreciate tourism, they have been able to see their role in tourism, and they have been able to play their part in terms of doing the beadwork, as you're saying, coming up with the cultural dances, and being ready to share their culture with the tourist. But then, as you say, the question is, how much of the money do the communities actually get? Because if we continue as a country relying on agents who are out of this country, and the money does not come to the country, very little of it then will go to the communities. The other challenge we have is when we have tour operators who do not incorporate the aspect of going to the community and giving something meaningful. I'm not talking about handouts. I'm talking about a model that is sustainable, that even after travelers' philanthropy is not there, that the community will be able to thrive. And that is actually what happened, Sarah. Last evening, we had a gala dinner. We were recognizing the eco-warriors of ecotourism, eco-warriors. And we had a very good time just going through what it is that they have done and is making them eco-warriors. You will be surprised because this year, the UNWTO theme for World Tourism Day is about tourism and jobs, creating a better future for all. And the question we were trying to answer from the participants who received awards last night is, have we as a sector been able to come up with decent jobs for the local people who are in tourism hotspots? Of course, we had some very clear winners who took away the trophies last evening, but we also had some runners-up. And the conversation in the room was, we are doing a lot in the country. In terms of, have we been able to come up with meaningful models of people making money and being able to benefit from tourism?
Okay, and when it comes to business models, the way you've mentioned, when it comes to business models and also when it comes to product packaging, what are the product packaging or what can be done in terms of product packaging to ensure that we can compete with even other countries like South Africa, Tanzania, you know? What can we do about that?
One of the things we have to appreciate as a country is we have the resources for tourism. But the question is, how do we communicate? Because once we package them, which outlets do we use? We have Kenya Tourism Board, for instance. They have been very instrumental, especially this year, to come up with a signature project. They are having and investing a lot of money in taking communities and local businesses through the process of packaging, because they have been able to realize what the international community is looking for. And therefore, they have invested their money in helping them to package. So as we start, and even as we come to MKT, which will be happening next week, and WTM market, which will be happening in London in November, we are confident that the tour operators that we are taking to the international market have been able to come up with signature packages that they will be able to sell to the outside market. So in terms of packaging, we know what we are selling. We are selling culture. We are selling our parks. We are selling the heritage that we have. We are opening up other areas besides the beach and the bush. We are opening up areas. And that's why you are talking about Turkana today. Because before then, we just knew very little about Turkana. But today, and especially because of the county government, they have been able to package their culture, and everybody is trooping to Turkana as we speak to experience that.
All right. And what other ways can we sell Kenya to the world?
I think the best is for you and me to be the ambassadors of our country, because at times we can be our worst enemies. We all enjoy Kenya. We have companies that are taking Kenyans to the parks in droves, and that is a testament that we cannot believe in. But then, once we experience this, what are we saying as Kenyans? When we interact with these people out there, do you see yourself as an ambassador of Kenya? Do you see yourself selling what we have? Because it's not a question of whether we have what it takes to be the leading tourism operators in Kenya. That is not in question. But what it is, do we only want KTB to be the ones who sell, or do we want all to be partakers of this? Because indeed, we have a beautiful country. And it is our duty, all of us, to make sure that it is marketed in the proper way and we communicate sustainability even as we communicate about the products.
Okay, investors in the tourism sector, they claim that they're not getting enough rebates. They're not getting enough for them to actually invest in the sector. It's so expensive to invest in tourism in Kenya. How correct is this?
I don't think that is true, because if you look at the hospitality industry, we have new brands of hotels opening up every time. So in terms of investors finding Kenya attractive, we are doing well. What is expensive is sustainability, because there are things that you need to put in place in the way you utilize your energy. You have to be like 100% on solar. You have to go into water harvesting. You have to employ your staff and give them meaningful wages. That is where the greatest expense is. So from where I start, coming from ecotourism Kenya, what is more expensive is when you are operating a sustainable eco-lodge.
Okay, thank you very much. That is Grace Nderuti, the CEO for Ecotourism, and being the World Tourism Day, and the theme for this year is tourism and jobs. We've been able to discuss the tourism sector in large and how ecotourism can come in play to ensure that we reap big as a country. Now moving on, this year's tea bonus payment across counties is reported to be the lowest in recent times, with the highest paying factory getting 36 shillings per kilogram of tea leaves delivered between July 2018 and June 30th, 2019. Farmers have largely faulted the Kenya Tea Development Agency, KTDA, for failing to address their issues. Linda Koskei has engaged legislature from the region and has filed the following report for us.
Yes, Sarah, today we are focusing on tea performance now that a bonus has been released and many farmers are complaining that they're receiving 50% drop from the previous year. Now, most of the farmers have attributed this to the Kenya Tea Development Agency, that is KTDA, that they're saying that the monopoly that these companies has taken over is being a hindrance to the performance in the sector. Monopoly of the sector, there is no market diversification. So they're saying that KTDA has really taken up the opportunity whereby they are wrecking profits, yet farmers are reeling in losses. Other things that have been attributed to this is earlier we had the tea board, and right now AFA has taken over the mandate. Now legislatures here where I've spoken to early this morning, they're saying that AFA is overwhelmed in some of their duties because the tea sector is just a subsidiary at the AFA, and so it has not been given a key mandate when it comes to seeing the challenges that farmers are facing. So today I'm joined by the Member of Parliament of Bureti, that is Japheth Kiptergech Mutai, who's going to give us an insight of what is ailing the sector.
First and foremost, let me say that at this point, at this juncture, I feel for our farmers currently. The bonus declared by KTDA this year was unexpected. The decline was experienced to percentages of 50% in certain areas. In our areas, especially the west of Rift, especially in my region, it was ranging around 40, 45 to 50%. One tea factory, Tegat, recorded a decline of 50%. Litein, around 49%. This is unexpected. And what we are really concerned is the variance also with the bonus declared within the regions of tea growing areas. For example, you'll find that the variance between bonus declared between the east and west of Rift is so much that any logical reason given does not add up. What we are experiencing as tea farmers has never been experienced for a long period of time. We are urging our farmers that let's brace ourselves for other times ahead, but as our leaders, that you bestowed leadership and trust upon us, we are pushing to see that we find a permanent solution to all these problems. We have a problem with KTDA because of the issue of monopoly. We don't have an alternative entity or institution that can compete with KTDA. And farmers are limited in terms of choice, where they can take their teas, where they can do this and this. And when monopoly really kills the market, what the tea bills cures is it liberalizes the market to allow other team players to come into the market. Once you have other players on board, there'll be competitiveness, and we shall see an increase in the returns the farmers are getting. Currently, it's only KTDA, unless if you want to move to other private companies, but those are difficult because they are private companies which are not regulated by anyone. So we are saying we want to create other players in the market so that there's competitiveness and farmers have choices. Right now, they are limited. Personally, I'm a farmer in Kapkateti factory, and my choices are limited. Let me say for once that we have doubts on the way KTDA is managing the tea industry. First and foremost, we have a feeling and we have legitimate concern that the marketing strategy of KTDA is not equitable, is not fair. It's biased and screwed to one area. That they market tea from certain region of Kenya to best buyers at the expense of other regions. When you ask these things, what is thrown on your face all the time is the issue of quality. That really does not add up, because we have other areas, where quality has been taken care of, but still they're experiencing low bonuses. Secondly, we have a lot of cartels in the tea industry. Currently, they're around, and I'll call these tea brokers cartels on their own, because we have around 10, 11 currently. But the same tea brokers which are dealing with the end product get a lot of money comparatively to what the farmer is getting. What we're asking ourselves is, why should a farmer toil, wake up in the morning, yet get peanuts, while somebody who is dealing with the end products is minting millions? What we need to do is we need to get rid of all these brokers, and farmers appoint a self-appointed agent appointed by the farmers to be dealing and marketing their tea.
Now moving on, data mining has been hailed as the new oil, and with technology rests seemingly on use of these technologies in the day-to-day lives. Atlantis Technology, Kenya-based tech company, is the first IT firm to adopt non-proprietary open-source computing and cloud infrastructure to provide cloud service on the continent. We are currently joined by the CEO, who is Daniel Juguna. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank
you.
So
how does Open Compute project work?
So in brief, Open Compute is a project. It's actually an organization that was started in 2011 by Facebook. Facebook is a pioneer company that led to the establishment of Open Compute. So the Open Compute project is a group of companies that share the same interest of making computing accessible to the world in a cheaper and non-proprietary way. So the baseline for the organization is to make standards that can be shared with the rest of the computing community to build cheaper and affordable sustainable infrastructure. So this has been spearheaded by Facebook, but now Atlantis and many other companies are part of the project, where we contribute our designs and our ideas to the project. We can also be shared openly with other providers of the technology that can manufacture and build various solutions based on what the OCP, Open Compute, provides.
All right. Yeah. When you talk about technology as a whole, technology has taken the world by storm. So many people in the world are, especially businesses, are moving to new technology models. So how do you think this particular model will help in terms of even increasing productivity at work?
So Atlantis looks basically at two key things when you are trying to advise our customers on why we should use Open Compute and this model of delivery. The total cost of ownership of a particular technology solution and the return on investment that our customers are looking for. So in terms of getting customers to adapt and gain value from our Open Compute products, we are leveraging on lowering the cost of ownership, the TCO, and increasing the return on investment for our customers. So the cost is a fraction of what you'll get from proprietary solutions, and the return on investment is probably 10 times better. So you are actually bringing very high-end technologies that are used in actually hyperscale data centers, the Facebooks, the Googles, and the Instagrams, and all these guys. We are bringing this kind of web-scale technology to customer data centers. So in this case, customer productivity is highly increased because they are lowering their costs, and they're also getting much more value that they'll get using proprietary technology. Okay,
when you talk about technology, the first thing in mind is data protection. And it's been quite a challenge to come up with a way in which you can protect consumers' data. So how do you think, just in leveraging on technology, how can this be capped?
So there's a lot of initiatives around the globe, and Africa and Kenya is not left behind, in terms of the governments and the authorities putting in enough measures to protect their citizens' data. Currently in Kenya, there is a data protection law in Parliament. It's not a law, it's a bill in Parliament that is being debated. And for us as users and creators of technology, we have a cloud platform that definitely needs to be protected and to assure our customers of their data is protected and safe. So there's various mechanisms that organizations need to put in place, but for ourselves, security and data protection is the most vital component of all our infrastructure. And coming back to OCP, because this is open compute is world-proven technology, it's being used by, as I said, the hyperscale data centers. These are the data centers that manage all your Facebook, WhatsApps, and all that kind of data, and it's being used by other companies in the world. So we are bringing this locally so that also our customers and our users all over Africa can be comfortable that data protection is been considered and is taken care of.
All right, thank you very much, Daniel Jugunu. He's the CEO for Atlantis, and he's been able to talk about data protection and also technology in large. Now moving on, Calro has unveiled a new bean crop dubbed Nyota with high yield. The organization, in partnership with various agriculture stakeholders, have embarked on an awareness program to educate farmers about the new bean variety rich in zinc and iron. Carla Njenga tells us more.
Farmers in Nakuru have been encouraged to grow foods rich in nutrients to curb malnutrition in the county. There has been an alarming cases of malnutrition within the county, despite it being a food basket region. Carol, in collaboration with various non-government organizations, are working to create awareness about the new bean variety Nyote, produced by Carol, which is rich in zinc and iron.
Kiendelea kufanya hivyo, unaona sasa hata kwa mkulima, kama unalima eka moja unapata zaidi ya gunia 10, na hii ambereni tunapata gunia 2-3. Unaona wakionyesha wakulima mbegu mpya yenye ina mazao mengi, mkulima atafaidika.
Alan Ngetich from the Anglican Development Services Central Rift said they have trained over 90 farmers on the importance of upscaling the consumption of Nyota beans as one way to fight malnutrition, adding that it matures in 70 days and yields 6 to 10 bags per acre. He urged farmers to plant beans, spider plants, black nightshade and spinach, which he said has a lot of nutrients.
Yote tumepanda, tumezitumia kwa matumizi yetu ya nyumbani. Hapo mbeleni hatukuwa tumejua, lakini tunashukuru sasa hao wafadhili ambao wametusaidia.
The 2-year program funded by HIVOS targets farmers with intervention on how to grow nutrient and crop, adding distribution of seeds to farmers is ongoing. Over 500 farmers have benefited from the program, adding that they are working closely with the county government to have agri-nutrition legislative policies. John Ndarua, a mixed farmer in Nakuru County, said the seeds have huge yields. The only challenge is market access and exploitation by brokers.
Tulikuwa napanda maharagwe mingi sana. Lakini siku hizi kwa eka unaweza panda 24 kg. Mbeleni tulikuwa napanda eka mzima karibu gunia mzima. Sasa tumepata mafunzo ambayo ina mbegu itumiki mingi.
Inawezekana mtusaidie na mbegu kwa wingi ili tupande mashamba kubwa kubwa.
The program has gone a long way in promoting farming of food rich in nutrients. Caroline Jenga for K24 Inside Business.
Now let's take a look at how the shares are performing at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We want to see the top gainers and top losers of the day. Let's take a look at how these particular shares are performing. Now the top gainers of the day, we have HF Group at a price share of 6.96 cents, and the percentage change is at 4.19%. We have Longhorn Kenya, that the share price is at 7 shillings and the percentage change is at 4.17%, and TransCentury is at 3.28 price share and the percentage change is at 3.14%. These are the top gainers of the day. Let's take a look at the top losers of the day. We have the Standard Group at 24.85 price share and the percentage change is negative 9.64%. We have Express coming in at number 2 at 6.5 price share and also the percentage change is negative 8.45%. And we have Carbaside that is at price share at 8 and percentage change is at negative 5.66%. These are the top gainers and top losers of the days. Now let's take a look at how the shilling is performing against other major currencies. Let's take a look at how the dollar is performing against other major currencies. The dollar is buying at 103.71 cents and selling at 103.91 cents, and sterling pound is at 128.04 cents, buying and selling at 128.33 cents. We have the euro that is at 113.57 cents, buying and selling at 113.82 cents. We have the rand that is at 6 shillings and 92 cents and we're buying and selling at 6 shillings and 94 cents. And we have the Tanzanian shillings that is at 22 shillings and 8 cents and 22.22 cents selling. And the Ugandan shillings is at 35.36 cents buying and 35.62 cents selling. That is how the forex is looking at, and we've been able to also look at how the markets are performing. That is how we wrap up Inside Business, the last word in business. My name is Sarah Adam. Up next is Newscut.